Good morning. Gosh, Harold was right. The lights are bright. I believe I can see you out there. I am Betsy Beeman, CEO of Coastal Enterprises. We are a rural CDFI based in Maine, and we work regionally and nationally with many of you through several financing subsidiaries. Yesterday, we heard a little about the founding of the CDFI Fund, about how the Clintons learned about and were inspired by Shore Bank in Chicago, and how they brought the model to Arkansas, and later, how they brought their vision for the establishment of a national resource to support community development finance to the White House. We also learned from Harold about the power of working together. Our field was much smaller back then in the 80s and 90s, but we worked together to advocate for the fund, the CDFI Fund's establishment. My predecessor, Ron Phillips, and many others here organized in support of the creation of the fund and in the creation of this vision, a multi-strategy approach that involved mission-driven loan funds, credit unions, and mission-driven banks that would be necessary to achieve a more equitable country. But having a vision for a government agency that can really move the needle for low and moderate income communities is not enough. You need smart and dedicated public servants and leaders to translate public policy and investment into programs that work in all the types of communities that we serve. Expanding opportunity for entrepreneurs, expanding affordable housing, building new community facilities, and doing so in communities that are as diverse from our large metropolitan areas across the country, as well as in small towns in places like Maine. This is why I'm honored to introduce Marcia Sigal to you this morning. Marcia is the acting director at the CDFI Fund, a role that she stepped into earlier this year. But her career at the fund and in government service started long before that. Since joining the team at the fund, Marcia has worked in several different roles. She was the CDFI Fund's Deputy Director for Policy and Programs, and she also managed the Capital Magnet Fund. During her career in public service, she has developed and managed nearly $40 billion, with a B, dollars in federal community development programs. Just a regular day at the office. Marcia leads the fund at a critical time for our movement. With more attention and more resources coming into our field than ever before, her steady leadership is critically important to all of our success advancing opportunity finance. While there may be chaos in the world and on Capitol Hill, the fund continues to press ahead, deploying investment, updating and modernizing programs, and engaging with us, the CDFI industry. In fact, I understand that for the first time ever, something like 50 CDFI Fund staff are attending our conference. I'd like to invite all of you who are here to stand so that we can welcome you to our network meeting and thank you for your good work. Thank you. I know you're all eager to hear from Marcia, so please help me to welcome her to the stage.
Ooh, it is bright. Good morning, good morning. Thank you, Betsy, for that very lovely introduction. As she said, I'm Marcia Sigal, and it's a pleasure to join OFN for your 2023 annual conference. Thank you to Harold Pettigrew, the OFN Board of Directors, and you, the OFN membership, for inviting me here to be with you today. As Betsy said, many of you know me from my role over the past 5 years as Deputy Director for Policy and Programs. There, I directed the implementation of all of the CDFI funds programs, and I tried to ensure the efficient delivery of resources to CDFIs to help expand the availability of capital and credit in distressed and underserved communities. And since May, I've been serving as the acting director of the CDFI Fund. So, on behalf of the CDFI Fund, welcome to Washington. We're excited you're here, and we're excited to be here. With the conference being here in DC, as Betsy mentioned, the CDFI Fund has the wonderful opportunity to engage directly with conference participants. So this week, we're holding in-person office hours right here in the hotel at the conference, which we have not been able to do since 2019, sadly. So CDFI Fund staff are here on site to provide you with one-on-one support, answer your questions, and just do some valuable networking. If you haven't done so already, please stop by the DuPont room on the terrace level for a visit. The schedule of which program staff are here when is listed in the conference program. So as Betsy said, I'm glad to say we have more than 50 CDFI Fund staff people here today at the conference. And this event is providing our team members, many of whom are principally remote and located across the country, the opportunity to put their work and your work in better context. So I would like to thank all of the CDFI Fund staff for all of their hard work. Thank you to Betsy for welcoming them. I want you to know that these folks inspire me so much every day. They work so hard to achieve our mission, which is to help you, CDFIs, access capital for all. So thank you to all the CDFI Fund staff. In addition to being here with you this morning, I'm also participating in the Native convening later this afternoon, and I want to tell you a little more about that. Members of the team working on our New Markets Tax Credit Native initiatives will be presenting findings from two important new reports that we just released during the Native convening here. I believe this material will help the CDFI Fund and the New Markets Tax Credit industry to drive more investment into Native communities. So I invite you to stop by and hear that presentation, or please look on our website for these two reports, because I think you'll find them very educational and illuminating. So, in thinking about the work of the CDFI Fund over the course of this past year and the coming year, words like impact and transition are what come to my mind. So let's talk about impact. Over the course of fiscal year 2023, the CDFI Fund awarded more resources than in any other single year in our history. Remarkable year. We awarded more than $2 billion in grant awards, and we allocated $10 billion in New Markets tax credits. We also guaranteed $300 million in bond guarantees. Adding to this, with the more than $320 million from Capital Magnet Fund that we just announced earlier this month, since last year's OFN Conference, the CDFI Fund has awarded nearly $2.5 billion in grant funds. Which we were so happy for, and you are as well. These funds included the historic deployment of COVID recovery resources this past April. The CDFI Fund awarded more than $1.73 billion for the CDFI ERP program, Equitable Recovery Program, to 604 CDFIs. Yet despite this volume of funding, we still experienced demand and applications, depending on the program, that far outstrips supply by 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. For example, in the case of the CDFI ERP program, CDFIs applied for nearly $7.7 billion in awards. But total funding available was only 1.7. Sounds weird to say only $1.7 billion, but just thinking about 7.7 of applications for $1.7 billion of funding. But this is further evidence that CDFIs need capital, and by coming forward and applying for it, we remain ready to deploy these resources where they are needed the most. But our year is not over yet. We will be opening the FY 2024 CDFI program and NACA program application rounds later this fall. Yes, fall begins September 21st. It ends September 22nd, it ends December 21st, okay? I know that you all say fall is so vague. I know. September 22nd to December 21st. And we are opening the calendar year 2023 New Markets Tax Credit Program application in the coming weeks. So we can't talk about impact without sharing how CDFI fund awards convert into loans and investments in distressed and underserved communities. For example, in fiscal year 2022, FA, financial assistance recipients, and CDFI Rapid Recovery Program, RRP, recipients together, FA and RRP, reported combined lending and investments in excess of $90 billion, just for FY22. For FY23, we're still tabulating all those transaction level reports that you all are sending in. Thank you. But I think right now I can comfortably say that we fully expect to exceed that number for FY23. Give yourselves a hand. It's clear you're taking the funding that you're getting from the CDFI fund and combining it with leveraging other funds and investment to really do the work that you're trying to achieve. So I applaud you for that. We've also seen the size of the CDFI industry continue to grow. Over the course of the year, the number of certified CDFIs has expanded to nearly 1,500. And conservatively, and I do mean very conservatively, we peg the total CDFI assets right now at roughly $250 billion. It's a lot. With this growth, there's also been a shift in the overall profile of the types of entities that are CDFIs. While the largest single group remains loan funds, which comprise 40% of all CDFIs, collectively, CDFI depositories, which includes banks, bank holding companies, and credit unions, make up 59% of all CDFIs, while community development venture capital funds comprise 1%. But no matter the profile of the entities that are certified CDFIs, one of the CDFI's strategic goals is to construct the widest on-ramp possible for all CDFIs of all types and sizes to access our programs. It also includes maintaining the flexibility that allows our awardees to respond to local needs with market-driven solutions. During the past year, in support of these goals, we've taken deep dives into two of our key programs. Through the Paperwork Reduction Act, which we abbreviate PRA, we reviewed the financial assistance and technical assistance applications. And in addition, we published a request for information of how we might improve the Capital Magnet Fund requirements and sync them with other federal affordable housing programs. So we thank all of you who sent in comments to these requests for the Paperwork Reduction Act application and for the Capital Magnet Fund. These efforts are undertaken with the eye towards improving the balance between program flexibility and maximizing program outcomes. And as always, we seek to determine how best to deploy the funds, measure and monitor the funding and the outcomes of the CDFI fund activity and of your activity. So now let's talk about transition. Without a doubt, over the past 3 years, the CDFI industry has experienced unprecedented growth, funding, and impact. And now we're preparing to take on what some might say is a historic step, transitioning to our new certification application. It's not a secret or news that the CDFI Fund has spent the past several years thoroughly immersed in a rewrite of the CDFI certification application and all of its supporting data collection tools. And the rationale for this review and update has been thoroughly documented and discussed by prior directors and in prior conferences. So today, while I can't say specifically what's in the application questions or exactly when the new application will be released, I do want you to know that it will be published this fall, okay, as previously announced, for sure, okay? But I want to explain some important components of the implementation process to you, which I think you will all find helpful to know how new certification or recertification may impact eligibility for CDFI program funding. I think this is one of the things that is definitely on everybody's mind. So when the new CDFI certification application is released for submission, initially, only currently uncertified entities will be eligible to submit an application. All existing CDFIs, which most of you are, I imagine, that are certified, will be provided a 1-year grace period before you are required to reapply using the new certification application. The grace period will begin once the new certification application is available for submission. So in order to maintain the certification during the grace period, existing certified CDFIs must comply with all of their annual certification and data collection report requirements, send in those ACRs, and have no material events affecting their certification status. During the grace period, existing certified CDFIs will remain eligible to apply for all CDFI programs for which CDFI certification is an eligibility requirement. This is very important. People have asked me about this. I want to make sure everybody understands this. The CDFI Fund will be providing a schedule of submission deadlines and additional information about when existing certified CDFIs may reapply for certification. And once we publish that schedule and instructions, any existing certified CDFI that has not filed the new certification application by the end of the grace period will lose its certification. However, as long as the existing certified CDFI has submitted a new certification application by the deadlines, it will retain its status as certified while the CDFI Fund reviews its application. Furthermore, currently uncertified organizations who have been waiting to apply for certification will be allowed to apply for fiscal year 2024 financial assistance awards for both CDFI and NACA programs, provided they submit a new certification application by the due date as indicated in the upcoming Notice of Fund Availability, which we, of course, abbreviate NOFA. The CDFI Fund will review all timely submitted certification applications from these uncertified entities and provide a decision prior to announcing the FY24 CDFI program and NACA program awards. If an organization's certification application is not approved, the new certification, new uncertified groups are not approved, then they won't be eligible to receive an FY24 FA or NACA award, and they can reapply again at a later point to become certified. Again, we plan to provide detailed guidance materials that sketch out all the specific processes and deadlines once the new application is published. There has been much preparation going on our end to get to this point, as you can well imagine, and we commit to work with you to ensure that the entire CDFI industry is fully prepared to navigate this historic transition. At this time, I just want to say that I'd like to thank you all for listening to me this morning and giving me the space to provide you with this update. It is indeed a pleasure to be surrounded by those with common goals, aligned around the goal of generating economic growth and opportunity in underserved communities. The CDFI Fund remains dedicated to that goal and dedicated to supporting all of you in your work going forward. Thank you again for having me, and I hope you're having a great conference. Enjoy Washington, D.C.